All right, we're going to start off with a question here. You guys get about a minute to reflect and think on. So we talk about an organic coaching model. What do you think an organic model is? So you got a minute just to go ahead and drop in there what you think that means. Well, it's personal style. Okay, that's a good
nice.
one there.
Pure. Ooh,
Okay,
that's nice.
Yeah. Constantly evolving, yes.
Ooh, starts with basic strategies.
No one size fits all. Maybe they read the book. Man, maybe Steve gave him a copy.
Needs versus cookie cutter model. I like that.
Yeah, you guys are speaking our language.
Mm-hmm.
I think we found our people.
Grow and change. Model is not forced. Excellent. Not an add-on. Yes. Naturally. Seen that a couple times.
Personalized. I've seen that a few times.
Ooh, new and innovative. I like that.
Student needs. There we go. Lead with learning.
Oh, look, that one says freedom.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes.
Very patriotic. All right.
Excellent.
All right. So yeah, you know what? I think this is gonna be a good group right here. They're right in the. I think they're already in the ballpark. All right.
Oh, ownership of ideas when that person being coached. Love that. Absolutely.
All right. Good stuff there.
Awesome. By the way, if you like this, if you haven't used quizzes lessons, the free version is sufficient for anything. Pretty much, yeah.
You don't need the paid version. The free version will get the job done for sure. So definitely glad we can demonstrate that with you. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get this party started here. So one of our quotes from our book, we talk about when technology integration is organic, it emerges naturally. It's not forced.
That's exactly what some
a lot of you guys
said.
hit the nail right on the head when we didn't even say it yet. You guys are amazing. Go ahead.
So let's go to the next slide and see what that means to us. What do we mean by an organic model? So we're going to talk about each of these components as we move forward. And we want to give you some opportunity to let us know kind of what's working for you and what challenges you have. And also we'll give you some strategies and tips for each of these components. So first thing, organic coaching is cage-free. We'll talk about what that means. Someone had mentioned this, it is personalized, not one size fits all, inclusive, and the learners are more important than the tech or the content that you are coaching.
Yeah, as we'll talk about, especially from everything we do has a tech focus, but it's the learning. One of the quotes that we'll talk about is lead with learning, never with tech. We'll actually circle back to that, but it's all about what's that learning target, what's that learning goal, and sometimes you may be coaching somebody in our role. And we're going to coach someone not to use any tech because that's what the lesson goal required at that time. But I want to give a shout out to our good buddy up here, Sean Wisely. He's a vice principal up here in our region. He came up with the idea when we were floating the idea of organic. He said, it's cage free, and we like that because we talk about how as coaches, we need to ditch that desk, ditch that office, get out and about, be in classrooms as much as possible. And see teaching and learning in their natural environment.
That's right. And I think the next slide is going to talk about cage-free right here. Perfect.
Yep.
So what does that mean to be cage-free? Both Adam and I have stories of how when we first started in our roles as tech coaches, that we started by being in our office way more than we needed to be. And we learned that it is much more effective when we are in the habitat of those we serve. So we are in classrooms, we are in PLCs, we are walking around where learning is happening. During distance learning, we would drop in on the virtual sessions, the virtual classrooms. But think back to being a teacher. I know that when someone would come into my classroom and give me a suggestion, if they hadn't been in my classroom very often that year, I would think, you don't even know how I teach. You don't even know what I do. So making sure that we are there and present is super important to us.
One of the sessions that we've done in many conferences, we call being a walking coach. we actually stylize it after The Walking Dead. We use some gifs of the actual zombies walking, called walkers. But yeah, we want to we set a lofty goal for ourselves, and we don't always hit this goal, but we try to be in classrooms. Best case scenario is 80% of the day. Now, are we going to hit 80% most days? No, we're not. But again, we're trying to hold ourselves to this lofty goal. Even if we don't hit it, as long as we're moving close to that direction, we're going to be much more effective when we are in those classrooms.
And just a quick story of why this works. So I went into a classroom once with a very tech hesitant teacher that didn't really want to use technology at all. We all probably can identify some teachers like that. I walked into the classroom and I looked around, and he just wanted help creating a Google form for a very low level DOK 1 level test. He was a history teacher. And I thought, this is kind of boring and not a great use of tech. But I noticed he had maps all around his room. And so I asked him, after I showed him how to create a Google form, I asked him if he enjoyed teaching geography. He said yes, but it's really difficult to do with I don't have a colored printer, et cetera, et cetera. So I showed him Google Maps, and all of a sudden, he decided to, with Google My Maps, he decided to start learning on his own. So I would not, if I would have gone in and just said, hey, we're all going to learn Flipgrid today, we're all going to learn whatever that tech tool is. If I would have just said, this is what we're learning today, that wouldn't have been organic. It was organic because I saw, I observed, I was cage free, and then I knew what to suggest.
You saw the teaching and learning in its natural habitat.
Exactly.
That's one of our favorite quotes there. Okay, the whole cage-free model, being a walking coach, started as with an epiphany I had one day. My first year on the job, I was actually almost depressed because I was so excited about doing this new job here that I really didn't really know much of what it was, and I expected people to reach out to me. I thought my phone was going to ring, my email inbox was going to blow up, and it never did. It just and one day I did a test. I was like, you know what? I'm going to lock myself in my office. I'm going to turn the lights off, and I watched YouTube all day. No joke. And not once did anybody even care that I wasn't out and about. I was like, man, really, no one even knows I exist. So I prayed on it, and I said, you know what? I need to get out and about. I need to be in classrooms. And lo and behold, by the end of that week, I started visiting classrooms as many as I could each day. All of a sudden, then my email started blowing up. Then my phone started ringing off the hook. And it was such an epiphany for me that, I have this wonderful skill set and all these great ideas, but unless I'm out and about, people aren't naturally going to reach out. So we have to kind of break the seal and get out there and be visible in order for them to reach out.
And that takes walking out of your comfort zone sometimes. And we understand that too.
And boy, did I get a lot of the deer in the headlights looks when I walked into classrooms. Teachers were worried. Oh yeah, are you here to evaluate me? What are you doing here? And it takes time to build that rapport with them and build that culture that, hey, I'm just here to look. I'm just here to observe. I'm here to learn from you. And just by being there, as we'll talk about later, questions come up, and these organic, natural opportunities for them to grow are emerge just by me being there.
All right. So another quote from the book that we believe in is, EdTech coaching is best approached with a personalized, context-based approach. We saw some people talk about personalizing, validate those who serve, and foster sustainability. So let's look at the next slide and see what that looks like for us. That organic model being personalized.
So again, when I'm a walking coach, when I'm out and about in classrooms, that's the first step towards personalization. I need to see what their context is, because every classroom is completely unique. Every classroom is like a fingerprint. They may be teaching the same subject from one door to the next, but the way that teacher teaches, their style, that their experience is different than the one next door. Even the group of kids in front of them are different. So being in classrooms, is that first step toward personalizing. So, we have to be available to teachers on as many different avenues as possible. That's easier said than done. It takes some time to build your skill set. and your workflow to be available. But the more ways that you are available to these teachers, the more the better chance you are of connecting with them, and they may even reach out to you. They're going to be more open to your coaching. Well, so Katherine, tell a story about the cell phone and how that worked for you.
So I started, people would email me, teachers would, but it just wasn't working quite as well. And so I actually gave out my personal cell phone number now to my teachers, and they felt a lot more comfortable saying, oh, wow, she's actually giving me her number. I can text, etc. Now, if you don't feel comfortable with that, or if that's something that's against, your policies in your district, you can set up a free Google Voice number with your personal account. So the idea, though, is you have some way that teachers feel like, wow, I can contact this coach at any time. And so what was nice was it felt like they had that more immediate kind of response, and it felt like a more personalized relationship. It's not just you're the tech coach; it's you're someone that I can ask a specific question at a certain time, so to speak.
And you're building that rapport. The fact that you're willing to give out your phone number, that it's a small thing, but it goes a long way. It's very powerful into building that relationship. But as you're probably going to realize very quickly, is that a lot of what we do is based off relationships, mm-hmm. And I think that gets it gets lost a lot in education. That we quickly forget. We're so drowning in data, we forget about the relationships. And that really, those relationships get built, you're eventually going to get closer to the data that you want to see. Especially during the pandemic, distance learning, blogging for me in my role became huge, because I was doing pretty much remote IT support half the time, mm-hmm. And I get all these different questions and all these different things that people want from me. I mean, I'm serving from grade 6 to 12th grade. So, I mean, I run the gamut of the different things that people want. So, and I know that other people could benefit from some of the requests I got. So my one of my go-tos during the distance learning was blogging. So someone would email me with a question about how to do something. I would respond immediately with a blog. So I would send it not just to the person who asked, now to everybody. Everyone had access. So now I'm available through cell phone, through text message, through phone calls, through blogging, through email. You can take it to the next level. And again, this is all based off of your skill and your, maybe not skill, but your comfortability in social media. I happen to be friends online with a lot of the teachers that I serve. And you're going to hear, Katherine, I use the word serve a lot. I don't consider them be my teachers. They're teachers that I serve. And if you can use that little tweak in verbiage right there, that these are the ones that you serve, they tend to really enjoy hearing that I'm here to serve you. It's not, especially in the role of a coach, we're on the same contract. We are teachers too, and that goes a really long way in really building that rapport.
One more quick thing I want to talk about with personalizing your work is making sure that I work with a lot of teachers, and many of you may as well, and so it's difficult for me to remember exactly what I talked about with each teacher and what I modeled in each classroom or what we discussed. And so having some way, I use Google Keep on my on my phone, and it's searchable, but any way that you have, make sure that you take some notes, because what I noticed when I started doing that, I leave a classroom, I leave a PLC, and I take notes. And that way I look at that before I talk to that teacher again. And they have commented to me, oh, wow, I didn't know you would even remember that we talked about such and such 2 months ago. And well, really, it's because I took notes. And I tell them, well, I cheat, I take notes. But I want to make sure to personalize it. And that means I have to make sure I'm taking notes of it as well.
Yeah, in my role, what I've done is something similar. I'll take notes on Google Doc. I have a Google Doc for every teacher that I serve, and I actually curate them on a Google site. I'm the only one that can see it. But all I have to do is just go to each teacher's page, click on their name, and then there's my notes. And it's a great way for me to continue where I left off and find the talking points that I want the next time I'm able to meet with them. All right, let's go ahead and get some input.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
So share some ways you have personalized your coaching to meet the unique needs of the teachers you serve. If you're a classroom teacher, just take the word coaching and flip it to where you are serving the needs of your students. Love to hear your ideas. We're going to learn from you guys right now. So there you
That's
go.
good.
That's important.
Be a listener.
Yep. That's huge.
Sounds simple, but
Oh yeah.
very important. Needs assessment,
Okay,
certainly.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Strengths and needs.
Strengths-based, and Judy Blakeney would love that.
A safe space, so important.
Oh yeah.
I like to go to teachers' classrooms instead of asking them to come to my office, because they're more comfortable there. I'm on their turf.
Treat them as individuals. Again, there's it's a good one there.
Oh, nice. Set up Schoology groups.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, whatever your platform is. Shared units and lessons.
We've done that with Google Classroom. Yep. Whatever.
Oh, I love this one.
Yep.
Shadow a student to get a realistic view.
Ooh, I'm going to steal that one.
That's good.
I'm glad this is being recorded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, leadership team. That's a bit not for a coach. You're that liaison, that go between staff and admin. So yeah, definitely, that's a huge one.
Following through and ask for something, absolutely.
Teacher being that teacher voice. Yep. There we go. Making yourself available. As many avenues as possible. I have teachers who text me, who DM me on Facebook, DM me on Instagram, email me, you name it. I get those messages from a variety of ways. All right. Okay, one more, one.
Excellent. Yeah, making sure that your PDs are give opportunity to use the tech, to let them play with it. Excellent. Yeah, PD based on request, not just what you want to provide. Perfect. All right,
good stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks for indulging us.
So when we're working to integrate ed tech, we want to coach in a way to shift their pedagogical practices. We want to leverage their strengths and interests. It's about the teacher. It's not about us. So let's talk a little bit, Adam, about what that can look like.
So again, like we've been saying, just like a broken record is one size fits all. You know, here's one of the drawbacks about quizzes lessons is that you import static slides. Are on Google Slides, you have this GIF right here that with motion. So I'm missing that part. But anyways, you know, one size does not fit all. So in my role, I teach teachers who are brand new, fresh out of teacher ed, some who are still they're retired as interns, and then I work with teachers who've been teaching since I was a child. So they've been teaching almost as long as I've been alive. So it runs the gamut. So it's every teacher has their own unique experience that can be leveraged. For example, in my first year as a tech coach, one of my biggest wins was was with a teacher who had been teaching for 35 years and was this old school history teacher. History teachers, I'm a history teacher. So we are more guilty of being old school, just standing to deliver and a sage on the stage, like we're college professors, than anybody. And he was a great lecturer. He's a great storyteller. A lot of times nowadays, we don't really want teachers standing up there just lecturing and having kids sitting there passively. But this guy was a great storyteller, and I knew that. So I looked at it, I said, you know what? That's his strength, and I'm going to roll with it. So he's a great storyteller. So what I did, what really worked well was that I let him do his old school lesson, but we had the kids, instead of just taking regular notes, we taught them how to sketch note. So they were starting, we have a high level of English learners. So they were making visual notes from his stories. And then they came up with some brilliant drawings, and you saw much more rich information that they were writing down than if they were just trying to copy down something from a PowerPoint.
But Adam, where's the technology in that? Because you're a tech coach.
The technology came later, because what we did, I took the kids' sketch notes, I scanned them and put them on a Google site for the kids to use for academic conversations later, to record themselves with the screencasting software. So we used a good balance there of tech and no tech. But it all started because I leveraged the strength of that teacher. I could have said, you know what, no more old school lecturing. And he probably would have told me just to get out of there.
Right.
I mean, he was 6 months away from retirement. But by leveraging what he was good at, I was able to have an organic tech integration. Without that, I would have brought in Google Sites. I would not have brought in screencasting. So again, you really have to focus on their strengths, and everybody has strengths.
One of the ways, sometimes teachers aren't sure what their strengths are,
That's
to
right.
be honest. And sometimes we can base this on their interests. If they're, what are you really passionate about teaching? But for those teachers that aren't really sure, maybe they're new, they don't really know what their strengths are yet. I started this during distance learning because it was so difficult. Teachers were so overwhelmed and just had so much negativity on their minds because of all the challenges they face. So I would start a conversation with what has been working well. And when you ask a teacher what has worked well, not only does it put them in a more positive mindset, but it tells you something that they're doing that you can then build upon. So it's a lot less energy to build on something you're already doing than to throw out what's working and teach you something brand new. So it can be really helpful to do that. One thing is a lot of the teachers that I work with when we're talking about elementary school is they use individual whiteboards, which is great because I can look at these individual whiteboards as in the class and I can see what the kids are doing. And so a simple way that I would level up that strength that they're checking for understanding in that way is have the kids take a picture of that whiteboard work in Google Slides so that it's now permanent, so that now the teacher can look at it later, the student can look at it later. So that's an example of something that is building upon a strength. I already do this, now I'm just going to add something to it. Also important to ask what challenges are faced as well.
That's true.
Sometimes we can solve problems. But we'd love to hear from you as well.
So in your effort to coach teachers and honor their strengths, what has worked well and what challenges have you faced?
So we're asking you the same questions we often ask teachers.
Mm-hmm. So let's do a glow and a grow.
That's one way to say it, yes.
Yep. A glow and a grow.
All right.
Yeah,
Being honest, yeah.
Honesty.
Building on the relationships with students. Yeah, that's true. Oh, that's good. Allow them to try the strategy before doing it in front of their students, certainly.
We do that with in their PLCs when I push into the PLCs.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's okay to make mistakes. Yes, empathy, honesty.
That's a huge fear amongst a lot of people. They're so afraid to be wrong and make mistakes. It's cliche, but I mean the FAIL is an acronym: first attempt in learning, and it works with. It's gonna work. Oh, there it goes. Computer's back. All right, good. So yeah, it's that growth mindset. It's much easier. It's easier said than done, but we get people not afraid to fail, then the true learning becomes authentic.
I like their successes. Yes.
Yeah, you need to brag on people.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you need to brag on people. Man, some of the people that we've worked with, we put in our book, we are bragging about them, and and then I give people shout outs in our weekly blogs and stuff, and it just those simple little things. Being a cheerleader goes so far.
Here's the other great part about that. If I'm a teacher and you as the person that's pretty techie say, oh, you should try this, I think, oh, well, you're the tech coach. Of course, it's easy for you because that's your expertise. But if I say other teachers have done this, let me show you, show you a picture of it or show you those student work that was produced by one of your colleagues. Now it feels like something I can do that too.
I like your Maddie puts acknowledge apprehensions and offer support. So you can let them acknowledge the fact that any kind of hesitation you're feeling is natural. You're not the only one, and I acknowledge it. It's real, and I'm going to help you get through it. And definitely, a lot of times we skip just to the support, and kind of we gloss over their feelings about it. I mean, that's kind of like some teacher SEL there.
Especially during distance learning, I found that was very important. A lot of times teachers would need to share what their struggles were before we could even get into any of the content of the coaching. It was very important that they felt heard, that yes, I know it's tough right now.
Whenever I hear says being honest about my own struggles, that reminds me of that movie. I forgot the name. is like about that kind of this mystical child, Timothy Green,
Mm.
and like his parents couldn't have. He kind of like sprouted out of the ground. His parents couldn't have kids, and he was playing soccer, and he was not very good at it. And people are looking at him like, "Oh, this kid's terrible." And he was like, "You know what? I can only get better." He's like, "You know what? I acknowledge that I'm not good, but I can only get better." And I've been trying to find that clip to use in a session, because I think it's such a powerful image there for our for what we're trying to do here as educators.
Yes, showcasing student work. Absolutely. In the chat.
That is a pet project of mine.
Yes.
So our next quote here we'd like to share with you and talk about here is, "We serve learners, not initiatives." A lot of schools are like, we are an Avid school, we are this school, we are that school, and all that stuff is great. But again, we need to focus. We are here for the learners, not for the initiatives. We're here for the students, not for someone's agenda.
It's like saying, "Oh, I teach math." No, you teach students.
That's right.
Right? Same idea. I don't coach tech, I coach teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So the organic model is learner-centered. We want to make sure that the students, or excuse me, the teachers, and really our learners, our students as well, are the ones that are in charge. We can give them lots of choices to do so. That can be very helpful. But again, it's organic because it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah. So again, we talk about voice and choice. That when I'm thinking of learner centered, I want to give kids voice and choice. A lot of you have talked about there's no one cookie cutter, no one size fits all approach. We talk a lot about things such as like choice boards here. But when it comes to students, we want to give kids choice to demonstrate their learning in as many ways as possible, because that's very empowering. No two kids are exactly the same. And when it comes with teachers, when you're serving teachers, we want to fill their toolbox. When you support a teacher and you help them build their skill level, their capacity, once they have that, then it filters down into with their students, and they can offer more voice and choice. Where I work, we are a Google district, and our principal, or I'm sorry, our superintendent, about 3 years ago, got on this kick saying every teacher is going to be Google certified. And that fell a lot on me. So I've been training teachers to become Google certified level 1 for 3 years, and with some very levels of success. So my job was to help build their toolbox so they could pass that exam. And then when distance learning hit, there was a huge another rush for PD. So I developed a lot of other training resources and brought all these different apps that I was training people on. And said, hey, there's certifications for all these things. Certifications, especially with technology, they're like Boys and Girl Scout those sashes, where they keep all their badges and all their. I was in the Scouts, but I think you guys get my point.
The badges. Yeah,
I think they're badges, right? And one begets another. You get one, you get this rush of confidence. You're like, you know what? All right, what's next? What's next? I've been kind of rekindled my push for Google Certified Level 1, and every time a teacher passes, the look of accomplishment on their face. And more often than not, they're like, all right, Adam, when's level 2? Well, what's next? What's next? And if we can get teachers feeling good about themselves, filling their toolbox, now they're going to start giving kids more voice and choice, because you have so many different learning styles out there. And the more voice and choice we give, the more empowered the students are to take ownership of their learning.
And we want to give choices in our PDs as well. So we have choice boards in that as well, where there's links for teachers to go to explore, have a time to explore the things that you're most interested in as well. So definitely. All right. So this is something I'm very passionate about. As coaches, we serve all teachers, not just the innovators. You may have heard it said, you don't choose the kids that are in your classroom. We don't choose the teachers that are in our schools. It doesn't matter. We aren't going to say, you don't want to learn, so I'm not going to teach you. If I'm a teacher and I have a student that doesn't want to learn, I am going to do all I can to try and reach that student. And it's the same as a coach with a teacher. I'm going to do everything I can to reach not just the innovators, not just those that want to be coached, but those that also are resistant. And so this is super important to make sure that we are, it's for the sake of equity as well. I've always said, if my kid was in a classroom with a teacher that did not want to receive tech coaching and didn't have to, so to speak, or that the coach wasn't trying to reach them, and the class next door was doing a whole bunch of cool stuff, I would be upset. Yeah. That's not equitable. So it's really about the students. So how do we do that? How do we make it inclusive? And there are ways that we want to be inclusive, certainly with more than just with other stakeholders as well. But I do want to say that being inclusive means that when you walk into that classroom, you're going to give a personalized, different tip than you would to one teacher than another, right? And
let's identify the elephant in the room. When we talk about coaching everybody, the ones we're worried about are those resistant ones who just don't want another adult in their room. And being a walking coach, that's where I'm going to go first. And you know what? There may be some resistance, but as long as you build that habit of being there, and they eventually get used to you being there, eventually something happens where you can alleviate a pain point. Anytime you can alleviate a pain point with a teacher, whether they want to be coached or not, you have that in now. There's a Spanish teacher. He's been teaching for over 30 years. One of the most resistant teachers I had ever faced. And I made it a point. I'm going to show up to his class room at least once a week. I'm just going to sit there. I'm just going to answer emails on my laptop. I'm just going to be there. And he gave me the stink eye a few times when I walked in. But then one day, there was an issue with his printer. And I'm not IT, but I was able to fix his printer. And then something else happened where he missed an email message, and I was able to forward it to him. And those tiny little wins, there were nothing pedagogical about it, but it built that capacity. I alleviated some pain points, and then he began to see my value. And at least 4 times a week, the guy calls me. He doesn't email me. He doesn't text me. He calls me on the phone, and he's asking for things. And he's reaching out to me now. Did it happen overnight? No. But again, we have to not be afraid to serve all those teachers, whether the hesitant ones or the innovators. And it goes beyond just teachers. We have to be there to serve our principals. Mm-hmm. Anything we can do to make their life easier. With principals, you guys deal with a lot of emails. And one thing that I do a lot is teach you how to organize your emails and make filters and stuff, because you have thousands of emails sitting there in your inbox. Any ways that I can help them streamline the process of their staff meetings that saves them paper is a huge pain point for administrators. Working with IT personnel. In my role, I'm that go-between between teachers, administrators, and the IT. And letting the IT know that, you need to think with a pedagogical mindset when you're helping some of these teachers that they're not trained for that. So that's my role there. And reaching out to the parents, any way we can connect the parents. So as a coach, we are we are that glue that holds everything together in a school site. All right. Oops, wrong button. There we go.
So, how about some last kind of tips and tricks for making sure? One of the things that we talk about right now is we hear in education, everyone has so much going on right now. We are all swamped. We are not back to normal. Things are different now, and everyone is just has a million things to do. And so how do we try to streamline some of our coaching? How can we be that help desk? One of the examples that Adam gave was his blog. So he answers an email with a blog that goes out to everyone. I curate a bunch of resources on my website, and it's searchable so that teachers go to a one-stop shop. I used to just share things with them individually, and that was hard for them to look back and find the email, find it in their Google Drive, etc. So that could be really helpful as well.
So building off what you just said there, if you're in the Google district, Google Drive is a mess. Shared folders and sharing links to Google Drive, it's doable. But it is tough. Any way that you can curate resources and think of a one-stop shop. So, if you're using the Google Workspace, have everything in Drive curated on a Google site, mm-hmm. or links like on a hyperdoc or on a hyper slide. and have that to be that one-stop shop. Any way you can do that. I call that my vehicle for tech coaching. I have a website for that where everybody can go to find any resource that I've shared with anybody. And those one-stop shops go so far. Another tip and trick is, you could respond to someone's email with another email. I like to respond with a screencast. So I record myself demonstrating it for somebody, and I send them back a video. Here you go. So there's just tons of different tips and tricks. Sometimes you have to be just a help desk, and you're like, man, I want to get into the pedagogy of it all. But you know what? Sometimes you need to provide simple alleviations of pain points.
Lastly, I shadowed my stepdaughter Andrina during distance learning there on the picture on the right. And so that gave me a lot of empathy that helped me develop resources that I provided to teachers that were in similar situations. So I loved how someone talked about shadowing a student. Shadowing teachers is another great way to make sure that we have that empathy. Okay, so we want to say this is not goodbye, but it is until we meet again, because we are here for you. We are, our contact information is on those slides. Adam, if you want to actually put our information, there you go, in the chat as well. When you have a session with us, you have support for life. So you can certainly reach out with any questions for any support, etc., and we will get back to you. So thank you. We do want to finally just end by saying thank you for all that you do, because we know that this is service. This is a calling, working in education.
As they said in my teacher ed program, it's a call into redemptive service, and can't think of a better way to describe what we do. So you guys are awesome. You're showing up here after a long day of work. So you're here now. That means you're awesome. And you know what? We're now friends for life. You can reach out to us today, tomorrow, a year from now. We always respond within 24 hours. So thank you, and I guess we'll get you on to your next session.